Hi children, my name is Auntie Marianah and I'm going to read a story about Carol the cat written by Robert Lourens. Today, Carol is on the farm and she tells us that John and Mary had decided to visit Mom and Dad on their farm. She says Tiger, my doggo friend, and I have never been to a farm before. And we were not sure what to expect. So, when we arrived late in the afternoon, it was a real eye-opener to see how big the yard was. It was ginormous, like 3 times the size of our garden at home. And beyond the yard fence, it still went on forever. I was sure we would get lost out there, and Mary would never be able to find us again. It was soon dark, and the whole family was in the kitchen with the old wood stove purring away. Everybody was chatting and laughing around the big wooden table in the center of the room. Grandma had put some blankets in front of the stove for Tiger and me. We both agreed that it would be a good idea if John and Mary got one of these stoves for our house. An electric stove just did not cut it. Grandma gave us some tasty, meaty scraps from the table. This was a luxury compared to what we got at home. Another hint for John and Mary, we thought. We were woken the next morning by the loud clatter of pots and pans and singing. The sun hadn't even come up, and here was Grandma preparing breakfast. "Time to get up, you lazy bones," she said, and pulled the blanket out from under us. "Grandpa is already out milking the cows. You should have gone with him." The thought of getting up this early in the morning astounded me. I didn't mind staying out until the early hours of the morning, but to get up while it was still dark outside, unthinkable. Grandma shooed us out of the kitchen, and Tiger ran off with the 4 farm dogs to go exploring, leaving me on my own. What could go wrong? I thought to myself, and ventured out into the garden. The first animals I came across were the chickens. This was just up my alley. I sized them up. They were a little larger than the birds I usually chased. But a bird is a bird, right? They were running all over the place, and was not easy to creep up on them. I decided the direct approach was the best. I charged at the big bird with a red floppy comb on its head. Instead of running away, it turned and glared at me. The next minute, I was the one being chased. The squawking bird wanted to kill me and chased me across the yard. I jumped onto the wooden fence where the horses were and heaved a sigh of relief. The horses whinnied and laughed at me, and Grandma shouted from the kitchen window, "Oh, you silly cat! That's a rooster you were chasing, and you shouldn't chase the chickens anyway." She could have told me this before I embarrassed myself. Imagine being chased by a chicken. I walked along the top of the wooden fence, avoiding the rooster who eyed me from below. I reached the walled enclosure where the pigs were. Yuck! They were really sloppy eaters, and they didn't keep their pen clean. The bottom of the pig pen was muddy and gross. As I was watching them, the rooster jumped up, flapping its wings, and gave me a sharp peck on my behind. I got such a fright that I lost my balance. I tried with all my might to stay on the wall, but I went flying, my legs flailing all over the place, trying to catch onto something. Luckily, no one saw me. Otherwise, I might be known as the Flying Cat Woman. I landed in the slop of the pig pen. How disgusting. The pigs thought this was very funny and surrounded me to see what kind of creature had come to join them. They pushed me with their snouts, and I was very uncomfortable. I managed to scamper up onto the pig's shed and up and over the wall. I looked this way and that, but I couldn't see the rooster anywhere. I was safe, even though I looked a sorry sight. Just then a tractor came down the road and splashed water all over me. Oh well, a wet cat is better than a dirty one. The idea of licking myself clean of pig muck, that didn't please me at all. Then I saw Grandpa at the milking shed. Finally a friendly face, and I would be safe with him. I dashed across the track before I could be sprayed with more water by the passing tractors. It was interesting how they were milking the cows. They put machines on the cows' udders, and the machine did all the work. I thought I would get a little closer to look, just to see better. I had to go under the cow and between its legs. The next minute the cow kicked backwards, the machine came loose, and there was milk flying everywhere. The cow must have got a fright. I didn't know why, because it was just little old me under her. The cows on either side followed suit, and there was absolute chaos. Grandpa shouted and chased me away like a mangy dog. He was very cross indeed. I scooted back to the farmhouse with my tail between my legs. I ran into the kitchen where I would be safe. Grandma took one look at me and exclaimed, "Oh, no, you don't. Where have you been? You stink like a piggy wiggy, and you look like one too." She grabbed me, took me outside and dumped me in the laundry trough. She hosed me down and then scrubbed me with an evil-smelling soap. Tiger and the farm dogs sat there watching, their tails wagging. I would never live this down. Grandma rubbed me down with an old, hard, prickly towel. It must have been hanging outside for at least a year. She then took me back into the kitchen. By this time, the whole family had arrived. Grandpa told them what I had gotten up to. Grandma chipped in with the chicken story, and everyone had a good laugh at my expense. Mary picked me up and hugged me, kissing me all over. Really? Was that necessary? Then everyone sat down for a hearty breakfast of eggs, bacon, sausages, pop, toast, and very strong coffee. Grandma gave Tiger and me some more of those tasty, meaty scraps. After gobbling them down, I lay down in front of the stove, exhausted. Tiger understood how I felt and lay down beside me to give me comfort. Neither of us left the kitchen again until it was time to go home. The next time they mention the farm, I will find a good place to hide. This cat and a farm? We don't go together. This story reminds me of the following scriptures. In our Bible it says in Proverbs 17 verse 17, "Friends always show their love. What are relatives for if not to share trouble?" And in Proverbs 18 verse 24, "Some friendships do not last, but some friends are more loyal than brothers." We see in this story that everyone laughed at Carol with her mishaps. Even Tiger wagged his tail when Carol was scrubbed down. And even though Mary found Carol's antics funny, she picked her up and kissed her all over. And Tiger, he lay down with her in support and to comfort her. Isn't that what friends and family are for? When the crunch comes, they are there for you and me, no matter what. And now it's time for me, Auntie Marianah, to say until next time, bye for now.
This story is read by Marianah Lourens with permission from the series Carol the Cat, written by Robert Lourens and can be read on his blog scribblelow.blogspot.com, or you can contact the author via email robert@highwinds.co.za for a free transcript.